What makes you feel drawn to someone almost instantly, sometimes without knowing why? And why do certain people seem to naturally attract attention, connection, and interest while others struggle even when they try harder? Because attraction is often misunderstood as something purely physical or surface level. But in reality, the psychology of attraction is far deeper, rooted in perception, emotion, familiarity, and subtle signals that the brain processes automatically. And the moment you understand how attraction actually works, you realize that it is not random. It is a pattern, and that pattern begins with one of the most powerful mechanisms in human behavior, which is first impressions, because the brain makes rapid judgments in seconds based on posture, facial expression, eye contact, and overall presence. And these initial signals create a baseline perception that influences everything that follows. And this is why someone can feel attractive before they even speak. Because attraction is not just about what is said, but about what is felt in the presence of another person. And one of the key drivers behind this is emotional association, because people are drawn to how you make them feel rather than who you objectively are, meaning that if your presence creates feelings of comfort, excitement, curiosity, or safety, the brain begins to associate those emotions with you, strengthening attraction over time. And this connects to the concept of emotional contagion, where your internal state influences the emotional state of others. So if you are calm, confident, and grounded, that energy tends to transfer, creating a shared experience that feels natural and engaging. And another critical factor is familiarity, because the brain prefers what it recognizes, and repeated exposure to someone can increase attraction. A phenomenon often referred to as the mere exposure effect, where the more we see something, the more comfortable and positive we feel toward it, even without conscious awareness. And this is why consistency in presence, behavior, and communication can strengthen attraction, not through force, but through familiarity. And then there is the role of similarity, because people are naturally drawn to those who reflect aspects of themselves, whether it's shared values, behaviors, or communication styles. And this similarity creates a sense of understanding and validation, making interactions feel smoother and more aligned. And this is also why mirroring, the subtle matching of body language and tone, can increase attraction, because it reinforces the perception of similarity without being obvious. And another important element is perceived value, because attraction is influenced by how valuable or rare someone appears. And this is not about material value, but about how someone carries themselves, their independence, their boundaries, and their sense of self. Because when someone appears overly available, constantly seeking approval, or trying too hard to gain attention, it can reduce perceived value, while someone who is comfortable, self-assured, and not dependent on external validation tends to be seen as more attractive, since they signal stability and confidence. And this ties into the concept of scarcity, where things that are less available are often perceived as more valuable. And this doesn't mean being distant or playing games, but rather maintaining a balanced presence where your attention is, not given away without intention. And then there is the importance of unpredictability, because while familiarity creates comfort, variation creates excitement, and attraction often exists in the balance between these two, where interactions feel stable enough to be safe, but dynamic enough to remain interesting. And this is why completely predictable behavior can reduce attraction over time, because the brain no longer detects novelty, while slight unpredictability can increase engagement by creating curiosity and anticipation. And another key factor is confidence, but not in the sense of dominance or arrogance, rather in the sense of being comfortable with who you are, because true confidence signals that you do not need validation, and that independence is inherently attractive, since it suggests emotional stability and self-sufficiency. And this confidence is often communicated through subtle cues such as steady eye contact, relaxed posture, and controlled communication, as well as through what is not done, like over-explaining, over-apologizing, or seeking constant reassurance. And then there is the role of attention, because giving someone focused, genuine attention can significantly increase attraction, as it makes them feel valued and understood, and the brain responds strongly to that sense of importance. But this attention needs to be balanced, because too much attention without variation can reduce its impact, while selective, intentional attention can increase its value. And this creates a dynamic where attraction grows through both presence and space. And another layer to this is progression, because attraction thrives when there is a sense of movement, development, or discovery. And if interactions remain static, repetitive, or stagnant, the brain begins to lose interest, while gradual progression keeps engagement alive, allowing attraction to build over time. And then there is the influence of social perception, because how others respond to you can shape how someone perceives you. And if you are seen as respected, valued, or desired by others, it can increase your perceived attractiveness through social proof, as people often use the behavior of others as a reference for their own judgments. And ultimately, the psychology of attraction is not about trying to impress or force interest, but about understanding the signals that create emotional connection, perceived value, and engagement, and aligning your behavior with those signals naturally. And once you shift your focus from trying to be attractive to creating interactions that feel engaging, authentic, and dynamic, attraction becomes a byproduct rather than a goal. And once you see how these subtle psychological mechanisms shape who we are drawn to and why, you start to notice them everywhere, in conversations, in relationships, in everyday interactions. And once you understand how attraction really works, you can't unsee it. So if this video gave you a new perspective on how attraction actually works beneath the surface, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep psychology insights, because once you understand people, you understand everything.